the next 10 years is going to go towards hiring new mental health professionals. So this is a huge
This is
deal.
Jen
As all of
Robinson.
you know, the waiting
She's the
list for
president of
mental
Active Minds,
health
a
centers
student group
really
that
long.
advocates for mental health
They
awareness.
really didn't have the
The
funding
group
that they needed
believes it's
to
important for
work
students
with
to
as many
openly
students that
talk
they
about
have
mental
today.
health, and this open discussion may be
This
even
is
more
really
important for
awesome.
Asian American college students. Research shows that Asian American college students are more likely to think about suicide and attempt suicide than white Americans. And among the Asian American population, those ages 20 through 24, which is when most people go to college, had the highest suicide rate.
So there are many risk factors for suicide, specifically among Asian Americans, and some of the risk factors include intergenerational conflict, like conflict with your parents, and maybe your parents have a certain value, and you have quote unquote these Americanized or Western values. So that often causes that intergenerational conflict, which again has been demonstrated to be a predictor of suicide intention among Asian Americans, as well as financial concerns. A lot of times if the individual is experiencing a lot of financial difficulties, that's a risk factor. So those are, I guess, the two really big ones.
In the Philippines, there's a lot of poverty, and so everyone in the Philippines say that the way to get out of poverty is through education, and so a lot of parents who grew up in that situation see that there's a lot of value in education, and anything outside of that might deter you from reaching your goals, your career goals. And so that can put a lot of pressure on kids because they think that school it should be your number one priority, and it should be your only priority. And if some kids fall short of that, then they might get depressed, or they might think, oh no, there's something wrong with me.
Experiences.
Professor Iwamoto also says that identity can be a suicidal risk factor.
I struggled with identity as a Filipino American, understanding what it means to be Filipino and American, and also as a queer person and a queer person of color, understanding what it means to be gay in mostly a heteronormative society. And so that caused a lot of pressure, tying into having these expectations of what I should be and what I should achieve. All that pressure kind of really put me in a very dark place.
Part of the pressure that Alicia's talking about is the idea of the model minority myth.
Model minority myth is the idea that minorities, specifically Asian American minorities, are perceived to be to have a higher success rate, to be more intelligent, to have things easier, ultimately, because of this perceived intelligence and success.
Alicia says, of course, the model minority myth isn't true, but if these problems are prevalent among college-age Asian American students, why isn't there more discussion about it?
In my mom's family, at least, mental health is not really talked about because it's like a mark of shame on the family, so no one wants to discuss it. So it's funny because I'm kind of removed from that because I'm not in my mom's direct I'm not in my grandparents' immediate family. My mom is, but we live about 3 hours away, so I can kind of view that, and it's made me more open about mental illness because I see what being closed about it does to people when they can't express it. So
I think counseling psychology, or psychology in general, needs to do a better job, as well as to really reach out to various groups and to educate various groups, because again, I think a lot of groups, not only Asians but other groups, don't know much about mental health and all the benefits they could have. So I think that psychology, as I stated before, needs to do a better job.